Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and it is time for the mini beach release, and I have a fun card to share. Hey, so I'm using Jaded Blossom's brand new Gnome Dies Beach Add Ons, along with the new Ahoy Gnomie Outline dies and the stamp set, our Gnome dies, and our tropical dies. I'm also using Doodlebug's Seaside Summer along with their odds and ends. So first I have a piece of Paper Trank white cardstock that's cut at 4.25 by 11, scored at 5.5 inches with my Martha Stewart scoreboard and my Teflon bone folder. And I'm working on a Stampin' Up! Pad as per usual. There we go. And I have a piece of pattern paper from the Seaside Summer 6-inch collection from Doodlebug. And I cut it 1/8 of an inch smaller than an A2 size card front. And I'm using some ATG tape to stick that down on the front of my card base. There we go. And all my die cutting today was done with my Gemini. Just thought I'd mention that. There we go. So now I went ahead and I cut out this piece of Neenah Desert Storm 80-pound cardstock, and I used the little beach border die from Jaded Blossom's Tropical Dies to cut that out. And I just cut it to the same width as that blue pattern paper. There we go. And I will stick that down with my HEG tape. And I'll use a little bit of Bearly Art glue. I'm quite enjoying it actually. There we go. And I'll just stick that down on the bottom of this card. So what I'm going for is kind of like an underwater scene. And I will trim off the edge of that because, you know, I'm crazy like that. I kind of want it to be exact. There we are. And on the inside, I'm going to add some strips of paper. This is the opposite side of the cut of that Neenah Desert Storm cardstock. And I'm going to sort of add a bunch of these patterns to the bottom. So first I'm going to add a 1-inch strip of this blue pattern paper that I used on the front. And then I'm using the other side. Well, first I'll add this Neenah Desert Storm. You'll see there's some mess on the back. Remember, there's two sides of cardstock, everybody. So I'm going to stick that down. And I'm using my Stampin' Up! Pad to kind of line things up. There we go. And then that last strip is the other side of that same blue paper. And I just have like a little 1/2 inch strip that I'm going to use. It's kind of like an underwater pattern, which is kind of fun. There we go. And then I'll trim off the overhang with a pair of scissors. You know, kind of going for, you know, an underwater scene on the inside and on the outside. Okay, so then I went ahead and I traced out this starfish die from the Tropical Dies from Jaded Blossom onto Desert Storm, Neenah Desert Storm 80-pound cardstock. And I'm just cutting it out with a pair of EK Success scissors. And what I want to do is I want to fill in the holes on that die cut. So it'll have like craft little holes is what I'm going for. There we go, making sure everything lines up. Now the color of that starfish is actually cut from Cut Cardstock's Star Dream Metallic cardstock. I use coral, crystal, and quartz. They're just a really pretty shiny cardstock, and I thought perfect for shells and stuff like that in a, you know, in a water card. So there is my little star. I'm going to stick that down or weight it down. I've got this adorable little clamshell. And I'm taking a Stampin' Up! 3/8 of an inch circle punch, and I'm just punching out a little circle from the coral, and I'm going to add that to the inside, kind of like a little oyster with a pearl, right? So I'm going to stick down the starfish first. So, you know, kind of making a little scene, right? You see the sentiment that I want to use on the inside there. So I'm just adding on my little oyster. You know, it could be a clam, whatever you want, but I'm adding a pearl, so we're going to call it an oyster. There we go. And then I'm going to add this little pretty coral colored pearl. And then I'll add my sentiment, Seize the Day. That's from that brand new Ahoy Gnomie stamp set and outline dies. So that's the inside. There we go. Now on the outside, I'm going to create a little water bottom again. I'm doing the exact same thing with the sand dollar. So I used the, you know, Star Dream Metallic for the actual sand dollar, and then I put the Nina Desert Storm behind it. There we go. And I've got the little oyster again, and then I've got this is the little starfish actually from the Gnome Dies Beach Add Ons. So there we go. Isn't that pretty? So same 3 colors of Star Dream Metallic cardstock. That's quartz, coral, and crystal. So I'm just sticking those down with some Barely Arts glue, which I'm really liking right now. There we go. So I'm sort of adding everything in. It's so pretty. It's got like a really nice shine to it. And then I'm pulling out little things, pearls, soft ivory mix, and I'm going to add a little pearl to that oyster there. There we go. Using my Studio Katia embellishment wand for that. There we go. And now I'm going to stamp. You'll see that gnome. I put that gnome together on our gnome assembly video for the Beach Add Ons, so check that out. It went live today as well. And I'm just trying to see where it's going to line up on my card. You'll see that I used Doodlebug's gingham linen and dot stripe papers. Now this is a piece of acetate. It's from Simon Says Stamp, and it's just a little grid line acetate sheet. And I'm going to line up my sentiment. So first I'm going to do some sentiment surgery. So I'm going to cut it apart. It doesn't scream, it's okay. It'll go back together if you want to stamp it that way. But I want to use the You're Fantastic, and I didn't want to have a super long sentiment going across my card. So I'm going to line it up on that little acetate sheet, just making sure everything's straight. And then I'll pick it up with my MISTI to do my stamping. There you have it. So I'm going to pull that little scuba guy off. And then I'm going to add in that You're Fantastic, because I just think it's so sweet. There we are. So I'm just figuring out where my little guy's going to go. And I want that sentiment to kind of nestle in, right? And now I'm going to stamp it in VerseFine Clair Nocturne ink. And remember, don't push too hard. You don't want to flatten out your font or your letters. And it only took 1 stamp this time, but trust me, if I would have freehanded it, I would have screwed up. So a MISTI is worth its weight in gold. There we go. So I'm going to stick this little gnome down with my Barely Arts glue. And like I said, you can watch me put that together on the Gnome Dies Beach Add Ons assembly video. So check that out. And if you don't follow Jaded Blossom's YouTube page, you should. Along with mine, of course, right? Okay, now I've got this little fish that I assembled on that same video you can check out. There we go. I also used pumpkin cardstock from Doodlebug for that little fish. So there we go. And I'm going to use a Stampin' Up! Dimensional, a little bit of glue from Barely Arts, and I'm going to stick that down. So I've got a super cute little fish. You'll see that the eye is made with Nouveau Crystal Drops in white and ebony black, and you can see me do that on the assembly video. Now I'm pulling out glossy accents, and I'm using Studio Katia's clear round drops along with their embellishment wand to add little bubbles to the front of my card, because you're under the water for this, right? So you want to add little tiny bubbles, and I just think it's fun. So I'm adding them, sprinkling them here and there. I want an uneven number, right? And I'm having them, kind of come up the card a bit, which is kind of fun. It just makes things nice. Now you'll see that I did have some secure white jelly roll pen details on that gnome, which is, kind of my norm. I always use a secure white jelly roll pen in a number 10, like I said, to make those white bold lines. I find that it just works the best. So I'm just adding on these little glossy accents and the little droplets. And I just think it really adds something to the card. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog, Be Inspired, the Jaded Blossom store, to get your hands on this amazing release. You can check out the gnome assembly video and my release and review video, so check that out. And thank you always for watching and stopping by, and we will see you soon in my next one. Bye, everybody.